Borderlands 3's meta has changed a lot throughout the game's short history, like an insane amount. There are guns that literally used to be god tier, world destroying beasts that I personally haven't even thought about in months or even years in some cases. I'm sure when I say that there are a couple of specific weapons that come to your mind, but I'm also pretty sure that there are some that you've completely forgotten even existed in the first place. Hey everyone, I'm Constant Canadian, and this is the 5 once great guns that fell out of power. Now just before I get into the list, I just want to say that by fell out of power, I don't mean that it is completely useless, just that it is far from the powerhouse it once was. Also, if there are any guns that you can think of that I missed on this list, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Starting off the list, we have the Shredifier. If you watched my video last week about the 5 guns that need a buff, I'm sure the Shredifier being on this list is not much of a surprise to you. The Shredifier used to be one of the best guns for Moes, and honestly any character as long as you had the ammo for it. It's not like it got nerfed or anything either, it was just a victim of this game's horrendous endgame scaling. The enemies kept getting healthier and healthier, and the Shredifier just never got any stronger, which eventually left it being completely useless for anything past Mayhem 3. Like I said last week, this gun would only need a small damage increase to return it to its former glory, and I would really like to see this happen. Next up, we have the Alchemist. The Alchemist was one of my favorite guns way back when this game first launched. It did good damage, had a decent mag size, good fire rate despite being semi-auto, and its only negative, the self-damage, was essentially unnoticeable. However, the Alchemist fell victim to the same problem as the Shredifier. The enemies kept getting stronger, while the Alchemist just didn't. The last buff the Alchemist got was way back in 2019, before a lot of these scaling issues even started to take effect. And now the only purpose that the Alchemist serves in Borderlands 3 is exploiting the crit swapping mechanic, and it's not even the best gun for that either. Another once great gun is the Crossroads. Now from being entirely honest, the Crossroad flew completely under my radar in the beginning, so I never got to use it for about the month that it was truly at its most powerful. However, about a month after launch, Gearbox nerfed the crap out of this gun, taking away one of its projectiles and nuking its accuracy and handling. This really took the power away from this gun, and it slowly got pushed to the side by all of the other more powerful SMGs. The Crossroad sat like this for over a year, until Gearbox finally decided to buff its damage. Crossroad fans rejoiced, right? Except for, at this point it was too late. The endgame scaling had already been ramped up to 11, and all the damage buff did was make the Crossroad not a complete pile of garbage. Which is unfortunate because it seemed like it would have been an amazing gun to use. Bring back that extra pellet, Gearbox, so we can once again enjoy this gun. Next up we have the Dictator. The Dictator was another really popular choice among Moes mains in the earlier days of this game. But it was a pretty powerful gun on any and all Volt Hunters. It essentially creates a bullet storm for the entire time the gun is firing. It was one of the most powerful assault rifles in Borderlands 3, which is why it was so strange when Gearbox released the Monarch, which did almost the exact same thing as the Dictator, just with an extra pellet and more damage. The way that both of these guns work is they fire 3 or 4 in the case of the Monarch projectiles when you shoot, but when in bipod mode, the guns shoot double the projectiles. The Monarch is a carbon copy of the Dictator, and I don't know why Gearbox even added the Monarch instead of buffing the Dictator. But now, the Dictator is essentially useless and completely forgotten. The honorable mentions for this list are going to be reserved for all of the guns that used to be super meta until Gearbox patched the glitch that spawned extra projectiles for each instance of damage applied to said weapon. A lot of guns were affected by this patch. Just to name a few, the Headsplosion, the Unseen Threat, the Seventh Sense, and pretty much all of the call weapons. These weapons really relied on those extra projectiles and took a big hit when that exploit was fixed. And finally, coming in at number 1, the weapon that I'm sure most of you expected to see on this list, the Cutsman. The Cutsman was the gun to have for the first few months after this game launched. This gun was by far the most iconic gun in the game for the longest time. It was a staple of every single build. The Cutsman used to be capable of destroying even the hardest bosses in this game in mere seconds, which is why it was so noticeable when it started falling off. The Cutsman still performs okay to this day, but it definitely is not the powerhouse that it once was. And the worst part is, the Cutsman only fell off because of the horrible scaling of Borderlands 3's endgame. Honestly though, I'm not too upset about this one because the Cutsman was so overpowered for so long and it totally had its fair run. Anyway, I think that's gonna just about wrap up this list. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next one.